Good evening, everybody. Welcome to FMA Discussion. This is episode 365, and tonight is more theme oriented in that I'm having Paulo Rubio on, and we're going to discuss Let's Talk Politics in FMA. So, unfortunately, a couple of recent things happened, and I have a lot of these theme episodes kind of in the bank, so to speak. So, I wait till something happens that's somewhat relevant, or I could piggyback off for momentum, and then I kind of choose to do the theme episode there. And this was the right time to do it. But we're not going to be attacking anybody. We're just going to discuss why it happens, why there's politics, is it more prevalent in some of the different organizations, and what we can do and to create and foster a better community where we can have open dialogue without ridicule and being attacked, okay, for opposing opinions. And that's what we're going to discuss. So without further ado, here's the man, the social media legend, Paulo Rubio.
Social media. Oh God, social media legend.
The legend, the social media legend. What do you? I mean, you got like what, over 100,000 Instagram, whatever, right?
Yeah. I'm like at 113,000. I'm a legend.
That's crazy.
Social media.
Wow.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for getting me into this again, Dean. Isn't it cool that this is? I think it's kind of cool that this is episode 365.
I know people say that, like, how long are you gonna go? And I'm like, till there's no more audience, or I've exhausted a list, or I've exhausted an audience.
Yeah.
You know, the one thing I've always said, I keep saying to myself, actually, more importantly, is that I never want this to be about an identity thing where I'm just doing this because the identity has been associated with me and I feel compelled I have to keep going. Like I never, you know, and you know who we could maybe bring on later on is Iron Tree. He's here, by the way. We got Frank,
hey.
Dave.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
365 days a year. 365. Oh,
I thought about that too when I wrote that down. I think, oh my gosh, 365. Yeah. So you know, if it continues, it continues. This year, though, I want to, you know, because I'm constantly thinking about how can I potentially rebrand, you know, reinvent myself or the channel.
Yeah.
And so one of the things with the Quick Bits, I know you love that name.
Quick Bits.
So the Quick Bits. And going on the road, doing joint seminars. So I'm going to try to keep reinventing myself. But if there comes a day where it's in fact exhausted, I'm not going to just keep doing it just for the sake of just doing it.
Oh yeah, no.
If it reaches time, you know what? I never thought it would go this far, last this long. So. Yeah.
That's what she said. But that's all. Like I knew it was. I
was hoping you wouldn't bring that up.
Oh yes. And today we're going to be talking about FMA politics.
I know. So
we're not tired of hearing about that.
I have a few questions, but you know, usually sometimes I really prepare an outline when I get guests on here, particularly if I'm not familiar with them or what they do. But since I've had you on so often, I really don't do an outline. I kind of just free flow with you.
That's how we do.
Yeah, but I have a couple talking points, and
sure.
You know what? And again, we know what kind of stemmed this, and there was a bunch of rebuttal, and some other folks got in there and said stuff, and I guess that's what triggered you to make a subsequent post on what you thought were more the political organizations. In that, but before we get into that,
sure.
You know, in your opinion, what constitutes FMA politics?
Well, assholes, insecurity. You know, it's really interesting, right? Like everybody wants to think that, you know, they're resistant to politics or we don't have politics in our organization. All organizations have politics, and despite people's resistance to politics, it's always there. It's an ever-present thing, and I think we can deal with it, you know, better than others. And sometimes it's just good to just smash it smash it like head on, which I think for a long time has been missing in the Filipino martial arts, right? Like I talked to, Datu Kelly Warden and
Mm,
Tim Hartman and these guys who had these FMA forums and shows back in the day, and they talked to me about how terrible it used to be. Like
mm,
PTK groups were some of the most notorious, just like online psychophants, just crazy dudes talking so much nonsense. I was
mm,
happy to hear that, the PTK as an organization, fragmented as it is, has matured a little bit over the years. And I think a part of maturity and learning how to better deal with the disagreements we have in the Filipino martial arts is to have them.
mm,
It's to have them. We need to have these disagreements. We need to be free to express our opinions, right? Because this is
mm.
how it actually happens. Now there are some toxic manifestations of that, which we will discuss.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no, well, and the thing is, yeah, I mean, there's going to be politics, and obviously, it's the degree
Yes.
of, I mean, is it, where it's resulting in name calling, threatening, or is it more on the passive aggressive line among factions with under a system, which is I see a lot by virtue of doing the show and being part of
Yeah.
some of them. Some of them are very more outwardly boisterous,
Yeah.
Kabbalists, PTK,
Sayak, some of the Sayak guys, I can't stand their friggin' attitude. And I'll say this, flat out. It's very it's and you know what? This goes with every system. And I want to say this straight out because I posted something about what I think were the top 5. And again, this is based on my observation and my opinion, which I'm
mm,
free to express. And if people don't like it, that's fine. We can be adults about that, or we can be children about that, right? But I expressed that the 5 organizations that I have personally experienced a lot of from is Pikiti Tertia Kali, Sayak, Sarada Eskrima, Modern Arnis, and Kalisi Illustrissimo. Um, Now, why? Why those organizations? Let's begin with a positive. I think people who study those systems are very passionate about those systems.
mm,
They love the history and the lineage and the teachings, right? That's the positive driving force towards all this negativity, is that when people are confronted with a disagreement or an opposing opinion, they love the thing that they invest so much time in. They
yeah,
love it so much that they feel insulted personally when somebody goes, well, I don't get that, or I disagree with that. So I think it's good that we lay this foundation, that it's rooted really overall in love. But I think some people are just dickheads and they just don't know
yeah.
how to act,
I think it's a natural protective instinct that you feel like you feel compelled. You have to protect the system that's being maybe critiqued or
Yeah.
criticized, or the founder, and I've seen, and I kind of saw a little of that in the post there regarding the training knives. Like I thought there was some good. I thought Tom Kyer did a great job of what
See,
his comment.
look, whether or not that dude, Tom, agrees with me or not, likes me or not, that guy's an intelligent dude.
Oh
And
no, yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
maybe that's not how he's always been. We all go through this like maturity. I myself, and it was very public, my
Mm,
growing up in Filipino martial arts. But I've only ever had intelligent discourse with Tom, right?
mm,
Like he might think I'm an idiot, a clown, a dickhead, but whenever we've communicated, whether in private messages or um, online,
mm,
he's always struck me as somebody who is like controlled,
yeah.
right? And very careful with word choice and very intelligent. And I don't know how the SIOC structure specifically is organized, but if from an outsider looking in, that dude ought to be the leader. That dude ought to be
He's
calling
up
the shots.
there. I mean, when I
And
was with them in early 2000s, he was a two-han back then, and it
yeah.
would and
Oh,
and so he's absolutely got to be up there. I mean, I've been far removed now for a couple decades, so I don't
yeah.
know the inner infrastructure how
Yeah.
they do things,
Well, it's
but
a family
you
system,
know,
right? So that's the thing. So it always gets complicated, right? And we're not just speaking about SIOC, but also in like, Pikiti Tertia. Like we see this where the name of the system or the nucleus of the system is rooted in family, right? So it becomes very complex. And I do believe me, guys, I do understand how much people love what it is that they do within the Filipino martial arts. But I found some things in my observation, right? Anyone who, for the most part, who has a professional background, whether it be in law enforcement or service in the military, they tend to conduct themselves passionately, but with professionalism and intelligence. Whereas people who are just like into SIOC and PTK, and maybe they are a graphic artist, or they work in the accounting department in an office, those guys are the ones who tend to be like the most rah rah rah. And I have a theory. The guys who are professional, the guys who come from a professional security law enforcement background, right? They can stand on their own.
Yeah.
Right? They believe in merit, they believe in honor, integrity, and respect. Whereas guys who kind of like maybe have daddy issues and don't have a strong, solid foundation, they rely so much on the tribalism and the community, and because they have this like really deep urge to want to belong, and they want to prove themselves within their communities, and that's why they yap so much online, right?
Yeah.
And again, I don't mean to disrespect, SIOC or PTK or Modernis or Calis Illustrissimo as an organization, and certainly it isn't my intention to be insulting, to the lineage, the rich lineage, and the history and the beauty of these arts. But I want to be free to express my observations about certain members of that community. And when it gets kind of disproportionate, it could be a loud minority, but they're kind of wrecking the integrity of entire organizations by just
it's so
being
true.
dumb.
But even back then, you hit on a point, like, and I look at it sometimes, disenfranchised folks. They want to be part of something, whether they weren't part of something in high school or whatever the story may be from the past. So they get involved in these organizations and they feel like inclusive and the tribe, and then they feel like they have to go to battle. They see an online post and they have to get in there and say something and defend. And a lot of times it's the most stupidest emotional comments that lack context, and they're not intelligently written or explained, and they're just jumping on a bandwagon for
right, because they value more than being logical or intelligent, that sense of belonging, and the way they prove that within an organization, maybe particularly within a tight-knit closed circle community, is to be a hype man. We all had those friends in high school, and maybe we were those people who just like follow the crowd and be like, yeah, man, Tommy, whatever Tommy says, whatever Michael says, man, he's like the quarterback or whatever. They just blah. I think this is at the root of politics, because from at least my experience, whenever I've had a disagreement with somebody who is actually like man enough to talk to me face to face about it, it almost doesn't matter how heated it was online. When they look at me in the face and we're right there, there's like the code of men take over, and
I think that's a good way to put it.
Even if we're in disagreement, it's respectful. And I've had grudge matches, like we've just sometimes bang it out and and then shake hands like fucking old school style. But these death threats that I hear about, and these challenges,
it's just not a good look. It doesn't do anything for your organization. This is a good point, because one of the things I thought about today was, okay, how does this manifest? Like, how does this grow into this ugly, living aspect? And so, is it could be one or two or both? So obviously, leadership has to have a factor in there. Absolutely. And the body, the student base. I mean, so what do you think?
Yeah, I think it. First of all, I believe in good leadership, and I believe that a good leader cultivates a community by example, and if
Absolutely.
they and if they and if they lead by example, then they attract people who want
Mm,
to uphold those same values, and then the organization becomes self-regulating, right? Meaning to
agreed.
say, if anybody who doesn't fit, right, the leader doesn't have to say anything,
Yeah.
and maybe the community doesn't even have to say anything. That person will feel out of place because
Yeah,
they
because
don't.
always be like I look at Burton, like none of this crap goes on under Burton's organization. I
Right,
mean, it's not even thought of. It's just, he's not, he doesn't rule with an iron hammer.
right. No, because he attracts the kind of people,
You know,
right, based
yeah,
on his example as a leader.
yeah.
And so anyone who comes into, a Burton camp and is like, I'm a tough guy and blah blah blah, they're going to find themselves
By themselves.
by themselves. Yeah, exactly. So yes, absolutely leadership.
Yeah.
But I also understand that the difficulty of leadership when you're an international organization
You're
is that,
getting bigger and
right,
bigger.
like each pocket based on geography and group leadership within that geography, it's going to have its own characteristic and flavor,
Mhm.
right? Like the Italians might be a certain way who do eskrima, and the French might be a certain way. Like we're generalizing here, obviously,
Mhm.
um, but it's true, right? And so it becomes difficult for a singular leader to be able to monitor and control a big organization, which is why by leading by example and choosing good regional leaders,
Good generals,
that's
right?
right, good generals, that's how you're able to cultivate a community that doesn't need to be secretive,
Yeah,
right, that doesn't need to um, puff their chest and say we're the best,
yeah.
because the community is demonstrative of that, right? They they're demonstrative of wanting excellence and upholding a standard. They don't
Mhm.
have to talk about it so much. And when somebody disagrees, they don't feel so insecure, and the community doesn't feel the need to jump on
Oh,
them.
right. Right, and
Right.
yeah,
Exactly.
it's true. Like I look at the system and like Amok, Tom Sawyer. It's like you don't see it. It's just you don't see it. Burton,
Yeah.
the Avenir, not so much, not from the Avenir, but people on Avenir. So it
Hmm.
was other way around. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's a weird. I don't know. I look at it, and my initial answer or where I'm pointing the finger is up top. And it's
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it has to be. And I think any great organization with any self-respecting leader, that leader ought to take accountability for the state of things.
mm,
That's just how corporations and organizations and
yeah,
communities and
right.
societies work, right?
They don't have
Yeah.
their regional managers running around amok. It's
Yeah. By the way, speaking of Tom Sodas, that guy's a smart cat, man. That guy's a
yeah, you
very
know what?
intelligent.
Oh my God,
Jeez.
a genius in methodology and the context within the
Yeah.
relation of method. Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
It's
Dean. I want to say something, all right? And I think the viewers who are chiming in right now, like we all know Dean to be a good human being, right? Like you are so diplomatic. I don't know, maybe you're an asshole in person, but you really exude this kind of
thank you.
really exude this kind of kindness and humility despite your experience in the Filipino martial arts. So just thumbs up for Dean, and I'm getting somewhere with this. I'm getting somewhere with this. Somebody like you, Dean, who's been in the Filipino martial arts and in the martial arts for a really long time. You've tried many different systems. You've
Mm,
trained with many different instructors. Where are you at this stage in your life? The people that you, Dean Franco, choose to continue to train with, there's that's worth examining, right? Because it's not like me where I'm relatively new and I might fall into a
yeah,
trap of just loving, instructor A and then instructor B. You've gone through a process. You've shed your affiliations with certain clans and factions and systems,
mm,
and then you talk about certain people now.
yeah.
And so I think that's worth, for what it's worth, I think it's worth examining. So like you talk about Tom Sodas and Burton Richardson, right? Who else do you talk about?
Well, David Goldhorn, there was a
Yeah.
gap in time due to COVID. I haven't seen him, but I'm going to be seeing him spring, which I'm so lucky. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely an evolution as far as you could
Right.
look at it, martial maturity. You could also look at it that the bigger systems um, weren't resonating with me for numerous reasons. And then I wanted the small and accountability. And so if you look at the people I'm underneath right now, you can see a clear, distinct accountability and very well structured and organized. Tom Sawyer's a muck. We are not allowed to talk about other people on social media
Right.
and all that. It's just not allowed. Burton, it's a code of conduct. The same
Right.
thing. With
Yeah.
Avenir, same thing. I'm under Brandon, which is the smaller faction of KI. Why Brandon maybe doesn't have the presence of Tom Sotis and Burton, but it's still understood not to go acting like a jerk and making him look bad.
Yeah.
So,
And that's a fine line too, I think, right? Because
mm,
I'm also against like organizational leadership where, they're controlling the actions of grown men. But I think when it comes to a code of conduct and an expectation, it ought not to be ruled by an iron fist, but led by example. So,
and that's what they
wow.
do. I mean,
Yeah.
particularly Tom and Burton, like they don't need to like reinforce or have monthly, meetings to reinforce the code. They don't. It's just like you mentioned,
Right.
it's a self-running machine. That's just,
Yeah.
and
And I think those organizations that you mentioned, and I have my own ideas about, but when I examine yours, I'm like, top notch people there. But the the organizations allow for the individual to exist,
mm,
right? They embrace um, the diversity of human beings,
which those
right?
two do very well as well.
Right. And so that in that regard, the curriculum becomes very much, alive and in service of the particular characteristics of the individual, which is very difficult to do. But when you have an organization that's like, this is who we are and this is how we shall be, and if anyone confronts that, then we attack as a wolf pack.
Anybody questions our methodology, they are to be punished. I mean, it's
Right.
it's
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I can see why that feels good when you're in that little circle,
When you don't
but
know better, or when you just don't know better.
oh yeah, or if you don't know better, you don't know how people are actually
Yeah.
perceiving you. Because here's the thing, right? Like when you're that defensive of a brand and you're that
What does that
close-minded,
tell you?
it says some. It really does say something when it says something about the organization, the individual, primarily the individual, but the culture of the organization, relating to how they take scrutiny and
Mm,
criticism and skepticism.
yeah.
It says a lot. It says a lot.
Yeah, and I can give you an example again. Just came to mind with Burton, and I remember it pretty well. So it was on the thread, and I believe it was his safe position where he does turn his back to the person on in a knife defense, and
Yeah.
somebody was really questioning that. And Burton, he didn't get flustered, he didn't get frustrated, he didn't get defensive. Pretty eloquently and intelligently, just explained his rationale and all that. But it was so, it was very open where I have seen that same, not the same question, of course, but in
Yeah.
similar formats and where the opposite response was given.
Well,
They're very defensive, like, who are
right.
you to this? I've got
Yeah.
blank years.
We train the Navy SEALs and the door gunner ninja commandos.
Yeah, and
That's
it
not an
just,
answer. That is not an answer. And I've questioned Burton, and we've had a discussion about it. And you were at a moment in time facilitating a discussion, but life and circumstance happened. We didn't end up having that. But Burton's always been kind. I mean, right? Like I understand he's busy and he doesn't have time to answer every question. And this is another thing, right? Like people are busy. And so the quality of your skepticism should matter, right?
Yeah.
Burton can't be answering commentary from every Tom, Dick, and Harry who thinks they know it all. So the quality of your skepticism, the way that you articulate it uh, respectfully as possible, matters. It absolutely matters.
And what I saw in that, with in that post or the thread rather, some of the comments coming in, like I saw that Tom and Dick Harry's coming in, and you like, and just jumping in there and like, and jumping to these conclusions over basically a training blade,
Yeah.
and it just was a little puzzling, how many ways that could have gone. I was reading through it and I was gonna comment, but then I'm just like, maybe this is not the time.
Yeah.
But it was really bizarre. Like there's so many things.
It was really bizarre. And it's like,
know?
are you, here's the thing. Okay. I'm going to name some law enforcement clients here: United States Secret Service, Presidential Security Service of Korea, Philippine Presidential, German Special Forces, SEK, SWAT team from the city of Seoul, German air marshals, police trainers in the United States, Canada, U.S. Army Special Forces, Singapore Armed Special Police, Kingdom of Jordan Royal Guard, Republic of Korea Navy SEALs, right? So let's say that a person actually trained these organizations. If I question something from that instructor, right? If I say, well, I don't believe that 2-on-1 works, or I don't believe that the hierarchy of prioritization ought to be X instead of Z. The answer to that question isn't to cite all of these organizations that believe in it, right? And that's not an answer to the question. By the way, what I just read, and it's available, it's my homeboy, right? I mean, this is where I'm biased. And this is available online, right? Philippine National Police Academy instructor. That's not a title. They train the Philippine National Police Academy. Yeah, sometimes the wording can be a little bit strange, but this is all like Jared Wihungi, and this is like a fraction of his, like military and law enforcement clients. It's available online. He doesn't push it. Like whenever there's a discussion to be had about a concept, a tactic, neither he nor anyone from that community goes, oh, well, what do you don't think the Korean rock Marines are valid then? They discuss the specific item that is to be discussed based on the merits of the arguments, not this kind of appeal to authority. That's stupid.
No,
Ability to have an actual discussion about something. Are you calling the Navy SEALs or the 19th Special Forces Group? Are you saying that they're wrong, bro? Look at
you're
this.
calling Team 6 wrong.
Yeah, look, Travis Haley and Kyle DeFore and Byron Rogers, they all believe in it. You can't question it. It's like, well, if I talk to those guys specifically, they're going to tell me the merit and value of being open-minded and skeptical.
Yeah. How they get to where they were at if they weren't open-minded?
Yeah. Right. So, and like the nature of things are constantly evolving, while, people like to say there's nothing new under the sun and that humans have figured out how to fight, centuries ago. The nature of tactics is a cat and mouse game, right? And what was old is new again, right? And what works in, densely built up structures may have relevance in open field battle. Some of those concepts may work to combat, a loose insurgency. But we ought to never be done having these conversations. Never, ever, ever.
Not while there's evolution.
No, right? And so to say that, this system trained the Navy SEALs, or, the friggin' The United States Marine Corps was trained by my instructor.
Well, when the 1950s or
Exactly. This is what people don't get who are dogmatic, right?
yeah,
Like these elite special forces units, not just in the United States, but all around the world. It a part of their, I wouldn't say mandate, but a part of their ethos is to understand what's out there. So
mhm,
even any Tom, Dick, and Harry who creates a brand new system, they're going to call on that instructor. They're going to place him in a training course, and they're going to try to find out what that's about. I
yeah,
think a true metric of validity is: are they still being called? Is it officially sanctioned by the department, the
mhm,
unit, the country?
yep,
Right? Because if it is, uh, that's different. Or if they used to, you have to ask yourselves, why aren't they anymore?
right. What happened? Yeah,
What happened? How come they're not calling you guys back no more? What'd you do?
yeah,
What'd you say? Have you become irrelevant? Or maybe you haven't become irrelevant, but what you teach and what you offer no longer falls in line with the mission
direction
specific
maybe they
criteria
can,
that they may be needing at the moment. So
right.
it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to be like, oh, I'm doing the Navy SEALs, but like, for which mission? Right? Like
You know, they,
and here's the truth. Here's the absolute truth. Okay. Knife work for special forces units is so far down the list of their priorities.
mhm, yeah,
Generally speaking. Generally speaking, right? Like there may be, you know, um, mission specifics where they need, stealth, covert
mm,
um, solutions. But for the most part, knife is so far down the list of priorities. But people don't know this. People think that like the Navy SEALs are spending all this
like
time
countless hours during the week,
knife
night
fighting.
dueling, and yeah,
Yeah. Do you know how many layers of skill sets that these guys need to be masters at?
I can't
Right.
imagine.
And yeah, and the way they train,
Yeah,
particularly pre-deployment, is slow and methodical. None of this like rah, 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 nonsense
yeah,
crap. And they don't have the time. Most times they don't have the resources to learn the elaborate and sophisticated stuff that is primarily
I would be a
composed.
time. I would, yeah, I could see that. I mean, based on everything else they're trained to do, being underwater for God knows how many minutes, and
There's a lot of things that they need to learn and be
yeah,
masters at, and it's on a hierarchy of priorities. And knife is pretty low. It's pretty low. Yeah.
not for us though. No, but
Not for, for a different kind of special deed. Filipino martial artists, we're a different kind of special.
so
Yeah.
how do we far as when you get okay, and I'm not saying there's a right answer or just one answer for this, but when you see
Mm-hmm.
a base like that, or a system and a
Yeah.
student base jumping in like that,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think as far as protocol of bringing attention to it? Like, what do you think is the correct way or the most appropriate way to handle it? I mean, do you go to the
You mean for us,
header?
for the people outside of that?
I guess you could look at from fellow practitioners. Maybe they're not in that particular
Well,
system, but they were part of the thread, for instance.
well, here's the thing, bro. Like as secretive as some systems are, they've got DVDs available online. They've got YouTube videos. They
Yeah,
have Facebook pages and Instagram accounts, right? So what if there is a secretive Filipino martial arts system? We don't know its name.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we don't know. Right. Yeah,
So
we
if
haven't
you
seen it
have a
yet.
brand and you want to be secretive, but you have DVDs available and you have YouTube videos, it's just branding. And I get that. That's cool. Everyone's entitled to do whatever the hell they want to do. I'm just talking about human interaction here,
Yeah.
and how it affects the nature of the Filipino martial arts. It is Filipino martial arts, by the way. It is Filipino martial arts. Sorry.
It's funny because like you're looking at that. As a matter of fact, somebody shared that post after the discussion, and I was watching it very closely.
Jeez, I'm sweating.
You're
Sorry.
sweating. Oh my gosh. So, and I was watching it very closely. I'm
Gross.
like, if this gets out of hand, man, I am like, good to get in there. As long as I didn't care about if there was discussion and dissenting opinions. That's all well fine. But
Yeah.
if it was going to get ugly, and it did, and I'm happy it didn't. But back to the original post, and there, you know, you look at the community that's reading that over. It's not a good look. You know what I mean? It's just
No,
not a good
but they don't
look.
know that, Dean, because
You know?
because some dude will make a comment, and despite how illogical and ridiculous that comment is, it's gonna have 37 likes and hearts
I know.
from all the tribe members who are going to want to support that
Instead of taking them off
opinion.
to the side and saying like, "Don't ever do that again," you're making that look. You know what I mean?
But you know why I engage in those conversations? Because other people are reading it.
Yeah.
Because even people within that organization, if they read what I had to say and they actually reflect on it, they might still hit like and support, the wolf that belongs to their pack. But when they read that comment and there's logic behind it,
Yeah.
In the silence of their thoughts, it's going to fester, and they're
That
going to
night
reflect.
when they're trying to go to sleep and they're just like
You're like,
they're occupying their brain.
yeah, I don't like that Paulo Rubio guy, but damn it, he
But
made
he's
a
living rent free in my
he
freaking
made a
house.
good yeah, he made a good point there. And also observers are reading that, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why I engage in it. Sometimes like for a period of time I'm like, oh, like it gives me anxiety and it stresses me out. But then I'm like, it doesn't last very long. I'm like, what the hell is this? It's just grown men arguing about, which knife trainer or which technique works on the street, or who cares? So it doesn't last very long, right? There's so
No.
much to this Filipino martial arts that's so rewarding and beautiful and wonderful that the temporary discomforts of disagreements is,
Mhm.
for me, it's a necessary evil to address.
Yeah,
But
definitely. Yeah. I would
yeah,
agree with that to address, right.
yeah,
I admire good dissenting opinions, good dialogue,
oh
guys.
yeah,
I really admire that when it's done really well and with
mm,
thought and respect
mm,
and dignity. But when you see train wrecks, and then you look at the community, and that's why I'm so stringent with MMA discussion, because I don't want those train wrecks. I don't want people to look at FMA discussion and say like, "Man, did you see that accident there and all those and this and that?" Like, I don't want to be known for that. Like, you know what I mean?
yeah.
I want
And
to be
look,
different right from the get go. I do, you know.
yeah, it's it's and Dean, here's the thing, right? Like we're talking about like Pikiti and Sayak and Serrata and K, whatever system it is, right? As those systems attract attention, there are
Mhm.
certain individuals who are, by virtue of their intelligence, their hard work, their discipline, and their skill, they're going to rise to the top of that organization. And then, if that organization does not support the growth of such luminaries,
Mhm.
those guys are going to leave and they're going to create their own system.
They'll create their own. Yeah,
And we see this. We
it has
see this.
happened. You know.
We see this,
Yeah.
right? We know who we're talking about. We know who was once this and then was like, oh, you know
Two of
what?
them that were on the show were
I'm
big cats
right.
in.
And so this is
You know.
undeniable proof
Yeah.
that this kind of a culture, this kind of a community, it's 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 restrictive to the growth of that community, because you are going to alienate your best, and they're going to leave,
Yeah.
and they have, and
Well,
they're
it's
going to
completely.
create their own
Yeah.
faction.
No, they have. I get
And they have.
two right off the top of my head that have been on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like Bikini Tersha Kali is a huge example of this.
Oh my
How
God.
many offshoots of the original has
I
there
lost.
been?
I'll be honest with you. You know better than me. I lost count. I mean, how
Yeah,
many?
exactly. And so,
You know,
and then they 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 could call it something else.
they
And then
could. They don't have to call it PTK.
they don't need to call it
I
psyop or
mean, yeah,
Callisto
they could call
Restrepo,
it
out on our knees.
slash
Right.
this that. So, but to the five that you identified, and here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's funny. I put
Personal
it
opinion and
in,
observation worth
yeah,
noting again. Sorry,
I
go
put
ahead.
it in two, and again, and I'm not saying I'm right. It's just by virtue of the interviews, being in some of these groups, seeing the evolution of the politics, and seeing it firsthand, or being part of it without choice. I put in there's passive aggressiveness,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's just flat out name calling,
Yeah.
threatening, showing up at
Death
the
match.
door. We're bringing the
Yeah.
tribe, and if you don't ante up, man, we're taking bounty. So here to here. With Ki, and I can say this because I've seen it and all that. I see passive aggressiveness. They're not going to show up at your door. They're not going to call your name out in front. They're not going to do it. But they're gonna freaking talk behind your back.
Yeah.
They're gonna do this. It's very passive aggressive, and I see that
Yeah.
with Marner and Nice.
Yeah.
PTK Cabales, different story.
Yeah, but it's also like, are you asking me why it manifests in that
No,
way?
no, no. I'm asking you, is that like why did you pick those five? Like what was your criteria, I guess?
Well, those five
I
are
mean, PTK, I guess you don't have to explain.
it's PTK. Um, yeah, it's because I'm opinionated, right? And I'll be the first to admit I've been wrong about so many things, but I never want to forfeit my right to express an opinion
Sure.
about something and to share the shortcomings and failures of my journey, right? And so when I express it, yeah, I encounter the private messages and the public messages, and
You
you
can
know,
only imagine how many I get too. What he said, it's just like, oh my God, I'm just getting up in the morning. Just kidding.
there's also people that kind of like harbor animosity and they're just waiting for the right opportunity. Like
Ooh.
I have a ton of followers on social media, and I have no illusions about all of them being fans. People are waiting for me to stumble and
Oh,
fall
they're
and make a
spying. They're
mistake.
waiting for you to
Yeah,
fall.
they're gossiping.
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
you see what that Rubio idiot did again? He's not even holding that knife properly. And then they get into their little and then they chat about it.
No, they
Here's
go
the
to their little private groups,
the
and
little private, or what they
I
think
can't
is
tell you how
private.
many my names come up in those private. I know I'm obviously you
Yeah.
have too, but it's just like,
But
hey,
anyone who does anything that is vulnerable
yeah,
is we're just creating fodder for criticism and ridicule,
yeah,
because we share.
yeah.
And it when you express vulnerability publicly, you can never stop a subsection of the public who are going to take great joy in
Oh, and
seeing
they're going to
you
capitalize.
fail.
They're going to take full advantage of that
They're gonna
opportunity where they
love
ain't missing
seeing
it.
me
Yeah,
fail, right?
yeah.
Like, and the thing is, like, I upload highlights of my matches, and then I upload failures of my matches, and then I
Right.
upload the full match. And it's like, yeah, sometimes I suck, man. Like, that was a terrible idea, you
Right.
know. And I think the people who find great joy in the failures of others, I pity them. I do.
Yeah, like that would
Bad.
bring happiness or smile to your face. You know what I mean? When
Yeah,
there's
it's
so many other
bad.
things you could like put your mind or what you could dedicate, for that particular
Yeah.
day.
Oh, jeez. Sorry, somebody. My door just popped wide open. Somebody there? No.
Somebody?
No. I'm ready. One of them internet critics are coming to my front door.
They just broke in, man.
I'm ready. And
But what do
you know,
you?
I'll say this too, right? Like no my wife's like, and you let me answer the door? Equality, babe. Yeah. Girl power. Um the thing about what I've discovered, and I'm sure the same goes for you, is like people don't have the full picture of who you are and what you do and how you train and who you associate
Mm,
with. And so they'll find something to cling on and define you by that one thing.
by that one thing, yeah.
Isn't that ridiculous? And that's
Yeah. I
why
mean, we think so, but I guess in their mental inventory, I guess it's the thing to capitalize on, and
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But then you know, I've also had people who are like, "Hey, I misread you." You know, like didn't think you would
Mm,
last this long, or I didn't know you felt that way because of this thing that you said before. I'm always open to have reconciliation
yeah,
because of a
absolutely.
misunderstanding.
Yeah,
I'd
life's
love
too
to go to a
short.
PSYOP camp one day, man. That would be cool. That would be an amazing thing. Well, you know, there's probably going to be
Oh,
a bit of
they're Sama Sama.
yeah, something. I think they still spar. I don't really see footage of them sparring, but I would love to fight
See,
some
I've
of
been
them.
at, when I went to the 2 year, and again, this is 20 years ago.
Yeah,
So they would have the team. So this is a lot of things were kind of going at the same time. So one, the Sama Sama, they moved to Pennsylvania. Action Flex came out. So they would have the big mass attack Action Flex wars. Then they would have the single wars. Then they would have the chopstick wars. I mean, it was fun. Don't get me wrong. It was a lot of fun. I don't know if they still do that. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I'm not
Well,
sure.
sparring and competition and live energy exchanges reveal so much. You know,
Yeah, but it was
and so
fun. I mean,
I don't know. Sorry,
it
it's
was a
on your
lot
phone.
of fun. But so back to obviously we know PTK. What do
Yeah.
you see in the Kambalas that just makes you go, "Whoa, man"?
Oh man,
Or
you're
you
gonna
don't
get me.
name names, just in
No, well,
general.
I love you know Serrata Eskrima, man. It's got and honestly, I hate to say this, but I looked into SIOC. There's some great stuff, man. But it's just like it is FMA, you know. It's FMA. It's
No, I
pure
mean
FMA.
he was a
But you
genius
know,
in many ways.
yeah, packaged and branded in a particular way. And I don't mean that as a disrespect because you know me, I believe it's one Filipino martial art and then different systems package and present
Yeah.
it in different ways and they have different emphasis and focus. Principles remain the same. Training methodology reigns supreme, right?
Mm.
And so I see all of this. Well, he grabs me and I do this and I do a tight cut and then I cut up and then I flip my karambit and friggin' rip out his perineum and then blue worm this and carotid femoral brachial radial that and then
Yeah.
penetrate the heart. I'm like, all well and good.
Yeah.
Show me the methodology that would allow me to actually execute that against somebody who's resisting. Now, if it's assassinative in nature, you don't need a whole lot of skill, right? You
Mm.
need to be able to catch somebody off guard and, you know,
And
target a vital.
basically, yeah.
It
I mean,
doesn't
ambush
take a
them.
whole lot of training to do that.
Not for ambush.
Um, Right. And so we seek a higher standard of methodology to prepare us, well, just in case. You know, what if they resist, right? And so that's what really matters to me. But what I see um, with the Serrata Eskrima community are, you know, oftentimes remnants of disagreements in the past carrying over to present students.
And the newer generation from decades ago, and there's one
Yeah,
faction that can be kind of, yeah.
right.
I mean, I only know this by virtue of the interviews. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
So look, let's look at the Dog Brothers as an example,
Hmm.
right? And I I spoke with heads of the Dog Brothers organization. They have an open gathering, and I asked them, like, can you give me a breakdown about which systems actually show up to this stuff?
Mm.
'Cause it's an open gathering. It's there's no meet me on this island with a single blade and a contract. It's
Yeah.
like, we're gonna be here in
Yeah.
Vancouver and Chicago. It's an open gathering. Come to fight. And I asked them like, who shows up, and they're like, primarily Pichiti Tersha practitioners and Dog Brothers martial arts.
Yeah, I can see that.
Inosanto guys show up
Renaissance
now
guys.
and then,
Lameko
right?
back in the day used to show up whenever there
Right,
was a.
right, exactly. And so that says a lot to me.
Mm.
There's a lot to me, man. It really
You
does
can't
say a
argue.
lot.
No, you can't argue statistics. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
they've been ruling that coop for.
Yeah. You want to fight? Like, you want to fight? Yeah. Dog Brothers open gathering. You can fight there. Anybody can go.
Yeah, but it's
And
going to
so,
be PTK infested. It's going to be.
yeah, it's PTK, Dog Brothers martial arts.
Yeah.
A lot of Inosanto guys, but we're talking about percentages, right? So
Oh
it's
no! If you're on the
right.
lower end, yeah, you would see
Yeah.
right. I mean, I know
Yeah.
Nick Merchant, like
Yeah.
he's going and he uses Cabales.
There's like really like one modern East guys who shows up to him.
Greg Mason.
He's Canadian.
Greg Mason. Yeah.
Yeah. And I fought him. He's great. He's amazing. He's a great competitor.
Yeah.
Good
on him.
And that's the thing. Like, if we've got disagreements, like, I mean, Craig and I didn't fight and have that match because we had a disagreement, but we can do it, But it's often what happens with these, death match challenges is they're not real, Basically, it's like, I challenge you to a death match, and then I'd be like, I'm not okay. So a friend of mine was challenged to a whole bunch of like death matches, and he was like, all right, I'll pay for your airfare and I'll give you the address. And they're just like, it has to be near me, and then it's just like a bunch of you create a whole bunch of stipulations. You must bring $10,000 in a contract. It must be a full moon, and it's like, it's just a whole bunch of yappity yap.
Yeah, there's more and more stipulations come in, and
it doesn't really happen. But if people really wanted to duke it out and to prove these concepts, we can go to a Dog Brothers open gathering and have it be about something.
Yeah, and at the end, you're more than likely to shake hands. It's going to be done with, and you both will move on, right?
Sure.
Hopefully. Right? I mean,
Hopefully.
But so do you see that though? Like, where you see the blatant just name calling, just atrocious behavior, but then you'll see the kind of, it's politics, but it's more on the passive aggressive. It's behind the back, talking about this particular faction to other, to within your own, or saying that they're not this or they're not that. It's not the true, for example, the true KI or whatever. You know what I mean?
Well, Dean, man, like, and integrity and character when no one's watching, that's the truth. And a lot of people think that they're being respectful by being passive aggressive or not saying anything in public, and then they demonstrate the opposite in their little gossip circles, and they think that's respectful.
Yeah, because we're not doing it in public, right?
Right. And that's not necessarily respectful, maybe tactful at best, but like, integrity and character is what happens when no one's watching.
When nobody's watching,
So, and I don't claim to be like, by the way, I'm a flawed individual, like, I go through my moments where I'm like, fuck that guy, fuck that organization, screw that. But I try to catch myself, you know what I mean? Like,
screw Dem Bronco. I'm sick of him.
That Dem Bronco guy in his gray sweatpants showing up his big birds.
And I know he is my rep, but Dean, please, no more jogging pants.
Oh man!
No, not to change the subject. I do have this is bad. It's bad. It's funny, but it's bad.
I love it.
Have another video.
Everybody.
I do have another video for GM Poggy.
Oh, you do?
Oh my god! But it's bad. It's bad.
Okay. Dean, you're dirty.
You
You're
know, I try not to be. It comes out sometimes.
I know. It's like the political like climate right now. It's like you can't tell any more good jokes, man. But
If
I
you
ain't
do, if you think GM Poggi would want it, I'll send it to you, and you can let him be decide.
okay. Yeah. I will let him know. And I'm
Yeah,
sure he will come out of hiding.
you know,
Yeah.
you know.
Mm. But Dean, what's your personal solution to all this?
So, well, that's something I thought about today too. Like, how do you improve status quo? And like,
Are we making it worse by talking about it like this? Are we
no,
contributing? Are we helping? I don't know, man. I don't know if this is
I think it's going to
exaggerating.
depend on the viewer's lens and their maturity and how they view open dialogue. If
Yeah.
they are disgruntled and they're part of
Mm.
that tribe mentality,
Yeah.
they probably are not going to be receptive to this.
Well,
But thinking about it today, one
mm,
thought was, I don't know if there's anything we can do, but I do think if the majority models and do kind of what we do,
mm,
intelligent discord, backing it up with either facts or, yeah, I mean, right?
we try.
Um, but it is overall just positive, intelligent discord, sharing of opinion, respectful diplomacy, and all that. I was thinking today, I think that's really the only way modeling. I don't, some of these guys you're just not going to change. And I think that's the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
I don't think you know what I mean? However, though, I
Yeah.
still think it's worth the modeling aspect of it. And that's
I
what I
think
tried to do with FMA discussion. I wanted a group where it wasn't going to be this open, where you could just go in there and just act like how you want, say what you want, profanity like that. I wanted to be different from the others. And I'm not saying there's not others that are good. I'm not saying I was the only one or I am the only one. I'm not saying that. But I
I think
really
you're
want to
doing a
make
good job, though. I think you're doing a great
that
job.
point to be like that. Anybody could be like the other ones. And like you look at what's the group there? And oh boy, uh, the Philippine Martial Arts Group or Forum, the Philippine Martial Arts Forum.
You talking shit about other forums, bro?
No, but no, and they could. I haven't been on their while, so things could be
Yeah.
drastically different. So I don't want to knock them. I don't want this to come across the way. But I have gone there a few times, and I see the mod. And again, this is some time ago, but I saw the moderators just like
Yeah.
jumping in and doing it, and I'm like, what the hell is
I
this?
sympathize. I sympathize, Dean. I sympathize because the expectation of a moderator or an admin is that they're going to be impartial. It's hard to do. I've been in that position where I'm like, oh, I can't believe I wrote that. I'm such an idiot. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So I get it, and I think certain Filipino martial arts forum, it's like of it's more like it's very clicky, and that's fine. They're entitled to that.
Oh
I
yeah,
saw I saw a post on FMA discussion that was written completely in Tagalog, and I was like, that's all. That's amazing.
yeah.
You
Which is
know,
yeah, I saw
nobody
a few.
said speak English.
Yeah, I mean, I welcome that. I mean, hey,
It's wonderful.
hit the translation button. I mean, come on, it's not,
Yeah, but certainly different Filipino martial arts forums will have their own characteristics and style,
yeah.
and it will attract a certain kind of community. I'm, I know of one where I'm like the devil. It's just like they just don't like me because of some things that I said in the past. Like fuck your lineage and stuff like that. Um, by the way, in case
Oh my
anybody's
gosh. Hey,
mm,
Brian's wondering this, and I want to
Brian.
make this very clear. Is
Mhm.
it true that Dean will be starting his own faction and separating from GM Pogi? Brian, no. I am loyal to GM Pogi. He's eccentric and he can be difficult,
Yeah.
but I am loyal to GM Pogi. So
Yeah. Well, it doesn't concern me. I mean, that's between you and my uncle.
I'd
Like,
say
do
you're
whatever
one
you
of the
want.
top guys.
You still don't know how to bring up these comments on the screen, Dean.
I do. Oh yeah. I
Oh,
can
you
figure it
do?
out.
Well, look,
Watch this. Watch this. Watch this.
oh, Dean's evolving. Dang. Good stuff, Dean. Look,
See?
we'll address these people. Did
I mean,
people
I'm
forget
definitely
one?
not in your world as far as
No,
technology, but I'm
bro,
getting there.
I'm so proud of you, man.
See
This is
that?
Great.
Tell GM. Okay. I need all the points I can get. And we got
Oh
one from me.
man.
And well, let me just see if there were any.
Look at this, Henry. Even like shout out from Cali, from the Bay to Stockton. Man.
We got Ron Saturno, Maestro
Yeah.
Ron.
That guy's amazing, man.
Yeah, huh?
That guy's great. Yeah.
We can bring Iron Tree, and we
Iron
got
Tree. Who the hell
uh,
is that?
Dave Iron Tree, the guy who was
Who?
demonstrating those practice blades, huh?
He doesn't know anything.
We got Renee here. Let's say you're one of the top of the interview guys. Definitely one of the better dressed. Must be those '80s music shirts. And we got Errol. Did I miss anything else? But yeah, I did figure that out. Thank you.
Good stuff, man. Hey, I wrote something earlier. Can I read it?
Sure.
I haven't. I wrote this in the morning. Okay.
Okay.
It goes like this. It's small. Sorry, guys. Forgive me. And this had to do with me about to get onto this podcast. And I wrote, when you post something publicly, especially a post that expresses an opinion, specifically an opinion about the Filipino martial arts, be prepared to defend that opinion and be prepared for the possibility that people will disagree and challenge that opinion.
Mm,
But what I often see is that people will argue other people's rights to examine, criticize, or scrutinize. And this is often a result of a couple of potential issues. One is that they are unaccustomed to being questioned, given their predominant exposure to small, secretive circles of like minded people.
mm,
The other potential reason might just be emotional immaturity or insecurity. And the other issue might be that they're just not that smart. I wrote that. Okay. I stand
no,
I stand by that.
no. I think that's excellent. Yeah. Right. You are prepared to back it up, prepared to defend it, and
Yeah.
prepared that not everybody's going to agree with it, and some are not going to have so
Yeah, you post it
pleasant things to
publicly.
say. You know,
Yeah. Otherwise don't post it publicly.
I can
And
be
I
honest. There were times I was gun shy. I'm like, oh my god, if I put this down, are they going to say? I mean, are they going to say something? Are they going?
yeah,
I'm not lying. I will be the first one to admit, man, I've been gun shy. Not so much now because by versus show, but
yeah.
in way back, I was absolutely gun shy.
I think that's important though. And people might not think this of me, but I do consider what I post. And I consider the consequences, right? And I think that's part of it. If you post something publicly, you have to examine what people might say about it, how they might disagree with it, and then maybe just that reflection will, cause you to reword something, to edit something, or even reconsider whether or not you want to post that. I've typed some shit up and I've just gone, what good will this do? Screw it. I'm not posting it. Happens
I've
all
had
the
a couple of those where I
happens
just
all the time. You have to do that.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah you got to rethink, but
Yeah.
you have a great ability to do stuff on the fly.
I love improv, man.
I gotta be like, okay, wait a minute, is this gonna come out right? Did I leave anything out? Wait a minute, should I redo this? Should I think about how they're gonna perceive this? I mean, sometimes I put like way too much thought in it. I'll be the first one to admit that.
That's good though. It's a blessing and a curse, right? And I think both of our methods have pros and cons to it.
You know,
Sometimes I've posted something and then I had to do some, family event and I'm just thinking about, damn it, I shouldn't have posted that. And I'm not able to enjoy the the family gathering until I
oh,
go
you're so
correct it.
sidetracked. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, we're human, man. I wrote something else. Can I read it?
Oh, please do. Yeah.
The secretive, closed door, you don't know what we do propagates intellectual inbreeding and indoctrinates members who vehemently deny and ridicule any thoughts or ideas that doesn't come from within the confines of the organization itself.
Mm,
Organizations like this will continue to fragment, people will leave, and they will create their own version of that system based on its teachings minus the culture of secrecy.
Or the negative culture, period, right?
Exactly, because nothing good comes out of an echo chamber.
And we've seen that. Like you
We
said,
have,
there's
yeah,
evidence of that. And if you think about it, they're bankrolling basically what you came up with, but because you made it toxic, they left and now they're bankrolling off.
yeah, and they'll be taking other students who may think
You're damn right they'll be
they might.
taking students, whether
They're
you,
fragmenting it.
yeah.
And here's another paragraph. When something is open source, it can be examined and scrutinized. And yes, some of that scrutinization and examination will come from regular folks who may not know what they're talking about, but it's also open to intelligent scrutiny by members of the armed forces, law
Mm,
enforcement, and responsibly armed fighting public.
yes.
You know,
Great. No, I mean, please, yeah,
it's
I think that was great stuff. Oh, we got a compliment from here. We're having a good, healthy discussion. And I think so.
awesome.
Yes,
Tony
sir.
Taklai.
Tony got that from the
That
Bronx.
sounds like that sounds like such a gangster name.
I actually think he is from New York City.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what a
he,
gangster name.
and here
It's
we
like
go.
Paulo
James
Montana.
coming. Another one. Great
Yeah.
discussion. Ooh, look
Thank
at
you. Thank you, skull smoking gangster hat guy. What do
And
you guys
folks, I
think of
just
all
want,
this, man? Like
yeah,
all of
that's
you guys
awesome.
listening in. Yeah.
Yeah, we got,
Oh,
yes,
GM
sir.
Ron just wrote something. I always love
So,
reading this guy's writings.
amazes me though, you can't have opinions because you're unqualified to say shit about
Put
anything.
it up, so we can all
Okay,
read.
that's true. I know.
Just throw it out there.
Is there? Okay, you read it. Here, you read it. I'm gonna get some more water.
Okay, GM Ron, it amazes me that we can't have opinions because you aren't qualified to say shit about anything. I love opinions. It causes me to think. So those whose asshole wait, what? It's like moving. This is crazy. Let me just read here. I love opinions. It causes me to think. So those whose assholes plug up automatically because another system member said it or for any other reason stifles our growth. Who the hell knows it all? Mr. Rubio, keep going. And I think that's supposed to be representing, fell resenting. Close enough. Thank you, GM. I
Yeah,
appreciate that. There's so many of the old school guys who like secretly message me. They're
do
like,
they?
yeah, because I'm not saying anything that is groundbreaking or innovative. It's just the way it used to be, you know? It's just the way, like, from training methodologies to philosophies. And
Yeah.
sometimes, and I'm cool. Like, we don't need to be, you don't need to support me publicly. And some people just want to encourage
Some people
me
just like the
privately.
private. Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
that's cool. But this is what gives me fuel. Like when somebody like GM Ron Satorno
Yeah.
messages me, or like Carlito Bonjoc, and even Grand Tuan Leo guy messages me, and it's
Does he
just like,
still message you?
oh yeah, man. Yeah, there
Oh,
might be some things happening.
how's
Yeah,
it?
yeah, for sure.
How's it? How's his health?
Hmm?
How's his health?
I can't tell, man. I really
Mm.
can't. No, but sometimes, you know, some days look better than others. But
Was he
he's,
mid 80s? Right.
yeah, I think he's 80, 84, maybe. But I
Oh,
just saw Tuhan Jim visit him in the Philippines, and
okay.
GT was there swinging his ginunting in the rain. So it's good. I was happy to see that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I love GT, man, and I think people still don't understand mine and his relationship because I'll poke fun of him and like, he'll tell me I'm a dickhead, but yeah,
Yeah, but obviously you guys have something there
I
for
love that
that's
guy,
continued this
and I think
long,
he
right?
loves me too. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Secretly.
I,
Right?
yeah,
We learn our options, no solutions. No one has all the answers,
yeah,
but folks want to think they do, and that creates egos.
yes.
Yeah, I
Good
can't.
point.
That's hard to
Great
argue.
point. Mm.
Mm.
What? Look what GM Ron Satorno guy just invited me to the Philippines. He seemed interesting. Hey, I might be going to the Philippines in November. Just letting you
I'm
guys know.
I'm just letting you guys know. Might be
Yeah,
going there in November.
I love the Philippines. Oh man,
Was
it's
it?
so
Does Jared have something going on there as well?
yeah, maybe. There's a bunch of things happening in the Philippines. You guys should all go back to the Philippines. Dean, have you been to the Philippines?
On the bucket list, have to do it.
Oh, bro,
Yeah.
you got to come with me. You got to do
Yeah.
it right. You got to do it safely. Everything needs to be organized. That's the thing, right? Like when you go to the Philippines, you want structure. Like you want backup plans. You want tactical support. You want to continue.
Tactical.
It's true. The last time I was in the Philippines with the PTTA, they sent a gunship to the shore because we were, we were pretty close to some southern areas that were hot at the time. So
Ooh,
because there's some connections, they had a gunship by the
those
shore.
Moros, man.
It was crazy. It was good, but it was like low profile. Like we saw them there. It was
Wow.
great. It's just great. Yeah.
That is something, man.
Yeah. Okay.
I know. No, this is great. I know we died, but it was all good stuff.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Let me flip the question to you. Like, what do you think we do to, I guess, not completely eliminate politics? Is not going to happen. I think some of the politics there's probably a healthy aspect to it. But the real negative, like, what are your suggestions?
Wow. This suggestion is personal, and it's something that I've. Some days are better than others, but it's something that I apply to myself. Is just learn to disengage. There's a really interesting feature on Facebook where you can turn off the notifications for that post.
Yeah.
Right. So if things are getting heated,
and it's like a car wreck, you have to look. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, I get a notification.
Yeah.
So when you turn off the notification, right? So it's like, say your piece, turn off notifications, and then they can yap all they want.
Yeah, and you're not gonna know it. Right. Yeah.
Right. And that's my big piece of advice. And it's helped so much. I think the thread that inspired this whole thing might still be going and people might still be yapping. I don't know. I don't hear it. And it's also an act of like a pacification. Like I'm not stoking that fire anymore.
Yeah, I'm not going to continue to add fuel to it. Yeah.
And I don't give them the satisfaction of like, because it turns into ad hominem, like personal attacks, and they're like, "Oh, you did this." I'm like, I don't.
Yeah, because it then escalates, and then they have to go to the name calling.
And then it hurts my feelings, and it's just like I don't need that, like.
So I agree with you. That's healthy. Just remove yourself, right?
I make my point, and then I turn off notifications.
Or what I do a lot too is, unless I'm tagged or whatever.
Yeah.
Just, because there are times after my discussion, I want to say, like when a thread, it's not getting really hot, but it's getting heated, and they haven't crossed the line yet because they know you can't there, but it's getting. And there are times I want to get in there, and then I'm like, you know what? No, just stay out of it, man. Just stay out of it. Just stay out.
But I think people like it when Papa Dean shows up and just be like, "Hey, fuckers, calm down." I think the community really loves it because whenever you're like, you're like that Lolo, man, like that grandpa who is like, he's just quiet and he's just, but when he goes like this, when Lolo goes, "Tama na," or "Stop that," we're just like, okay, we'll behave. I'm not saying that because you're old, like we're probably like same age, but like what I mean is that you have that kind of aura about you.
I think it's because I only get in there when it's absolutely just getting ugly, and I try not to over moderate. And, so when I go in there, it's usually for a very good reason. Somebody name called, or they're just being so obnoxious that nothing what they're doing is fruitful and engaging, or it's not really complimenting anything. Like those two guys, like I just had removed two guys really recent, and I think you had something to do with you were involved in the thread. And there were two guys, and sure enough, these guys never commented or contributed anything prior to this, and they were just going there just to be.
I didn't read it. I turned off notifications as soon as I made my point. So yeah, it's cool. People are always gonna have something to say about somebody who is vulnerable and is exposed. Like I just realized that 2 of my fingernails are pink.
Yeah. Oh, I'm seeing that.
Like that. It's pretty.
I have
because
a
I have a
very
daughter. Oh yeah, your pinky's a different color for a different reason.
today, folks, I got smashed in staff fighting, and I'm not ashamed to admit I'm a grown man, but I almost dropped the staff and started crying. I'm telling you, it hurt. I'm like, ah. But
That's only ever happened to me once. For some reason, I got struck on the palm of my hand, even while wearing gloves. I don't know what happened. Justin hit me, Justin Patricio Fernando, and my hand just went super numb. And I wanted to stop, but I didn't. Anyway, that's what I do. That's my advice for people is that compose your arguments well, be intelligent and as civil as you can be.
Yeah.
Make a point and then turn off the notifications for that post.
And make your point and then immediately turn it off.
Just don't give him the satisfaction because, like, again, there's people who are just waiting for an opportunity to tear you down.
Yeah.
Whether you're a social media guy or you just belong to a different system and they just don't have a good impression of you. They're just waiting. But can I say something to those kinds of people also? Sure. Thanks for watching. Because like they know things about me and I'm like, you would only know that if you're on my Instagram account. You would only know that if you watch this video. So thank you. It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, you're right. And maybe indirectly I'm doing that, even though I won't engage in thread, but yeah, that is healthy. Right. I mean, right. Just turn
off post notifications.
Just turn it off.
Turn off notifications. Don't give them the satisfaction, but
you can do what Errol says. Sit back, relax, and have some scotch.
Oh my God, dude! I could use some Glenlivet right now.
You can't argue that, Renee. Were those the guys slamming Matt Berry only fan page? I'm not sure, Renee. I'm not sure if they were the same guys or not. They were. I don't know. They were just.
Wait, somebody has an OnlyFans page. I was thinking about opening one. They're trying to brand it to, just talent instead of
just. You just have a fan page. Okay.
You know what an OnlyFans page is? Oh, okay.
No.
Well, just look it up. Just look up OnlyFans.
OnlyFans. And you can have it on Facebook?
No, it's. Have you ever heard of Patreon, right?
I have.
Yes. Okay, so it's like Patreon for girls to show nudes of themselves, pretty much.
Oh.
Yeah, but it's actually, I like the name OnlyFans, right?
OnlyFans, okay.
Yeah, because really, what it is, it's a controlled community of people who pay because they already like you.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so it can be
going under the name PPs.
I'm gonna have an OnlyFans, and it's gonna be like Angle Fives, and it's just gonna be me doing Karen's.
You kind of gave away the video for.
I'm so stupid.
But I think Giampogi is gonna like it because the big chunk of his system is based on, well, as you know, Angle 5. So
Angle 5 from the flank position.
Yeah, so I think he's good. I'll send you the vid, and you can see if it's something he likes or appreciates.
Yeah.
But he liked the last vid. He just didn't want me no more jogging pants.
Yeah. Oh, I love FMA. Dean, you're such a gem and a treasure to this community, bro. Thank you so much for doing what you do. I have a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think we're doing good things, bro.
Absolutely. But I gotta actually, because I gotta run and do a test run at 8:30.
Yeah. I got some sushi waiting for me. Some torched and pressed sushi.
Closing thoughts from, and again, and I want to, I don't know if I thanked you for it, but I really appreciate you coming on here and doing this. I know it was not much notice to you. So.
I know you called me and you're like, hey, I just read that post. Do you want to come on and talk about politics? I'm like, Dean, man. I even suggested, right? Like, should we wait till it cools down? And you're like, whatever you want. And I'm like,
I was saying to you though, I was
yeah,
writing that whatever you want, but I'm like,
do it. Yeah. Well, no, thanks for calling me and giving me the opportunity to chat, man.
and I haven't got Burton's going to get back to me. I'm still warmly happy to do the 2-on-1 interview with him. So that has not gotten forgotten about. So if you're
I think
still,
that'll be a great. I think
yeah,
that'll be a great.
he's just he's getting back. So that's still slated. Yeah. So,
Yeah. Cool. Cool. Thank you to everybody who like chimed in and listened.
yeah.
Whether you commented or not, maybe you're one of those like sneaky dudes who just
I
you're
know. I think
taking notes.
overall we
He
didn't.
said this. That is some
We
bullshit.
didn't. We didn't attack anybody. We didn't.
No, I don't think so. There's nothing personal.
Yeah. They can't. There's nobody can complain about tonight's episode that was instigated or
Yeah.
That,
Unless you are just kidding.
yeah.
No, but yeah, guys, take that advice. Turn off notifications, make your point, and get out of there.
Yeah, it's healthy.
Yeah.
Hey, what you got? You got sushi waiting, you said?
I got sushi waiting, man. But my final thoughts, this is all healthy. Pardon me. This is all healthy. This is all part of the process. This is all part of the evolution of the Filipino martial arts. We are exercising demons to this day, past baggage, past trauma, organizational rifts that have been passed on to new generations, personal, vendettas and personal opinions about one another that bleed out into members of our pack and our tribe and our side. I think this is all very, very healthy. I think we can all, myself included, we can all do better about how we communicate with one another publicly. I think we're fortunate that the Filipino martial arts has quite a healthy format for conflict resolution when it comes down to the physical violence side of it. Like if there really is an issue, we can go and fight it out, right? Like and I just consider death threats and like death matches. I mean, it's a little silly. We're talking about martial arts. No matter how much we love it, right?
Yeah.
These are disagreements about what a training knife, a kick, a punch, how we should be, conducting this thing that we all love. It's ridiculous. So we can all do a little bit better. And I hope that even if people feel compelled to continue to propagate negativity for whatever reason, that the individual in the silence of their thoughts keeps an open mind and actually pays attention and listens to what we actually had to say today. And for a moment in time, consider yourself as a sovereign, free individual, a lone wolf, a free and critical thinker, and then things will begin to reveal itself to you. So thank you to you, whoever you are, who might be feeling that way. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, as
And
always,
thank you,
appreciate you coming on, and
bro.
hopefully this won't be the last time we see you. So,
Okay, everybody. Thank you very much for having me. Peace out. I love you all. Keep doing that FMA. Thanks, Dean.
say hi to Uncle.
Will do.
All right.
Peace.
Go enjoy your sushi. All right, so that wraps up. My God, 365. Yeah, and who's next? Sunday. Matter of fact, I'm doing a test run in a few minutes, literally. Sunday, Chad Bailey's camp. We got Chad, Brown Frank, and Bruce Chu. Sunday night. After that, if I'm not mistaken, Wednesday, I think I got those lightning scientific jumpers coming on. Yeah, I think Errol, Sachi, and the third person, I'm unfortunately forgetting his name, but those three I think are coming on Wednesday night, if I'm not mistaken. So Lightning Scientific, we haven't had them on in a while. Lastly, Beat the Crap Out of Cancer. Yes, so fortunate to have get this going in Connecticut, and as you can see, it will be February 11th, 10 to 1. There is a donation going to an unfortunate person, Mike McQueen, who has cancer. But all the proceeds, or the donations, I should say, will be going to him in there. So it's a great thing. So if you're in the area, I highly recommend you go. You know what I mean? A lot of fun. I went to New York, thoroughly enjoyed myself. Great people, great time. You know, and yeah, and Renee was so kind enough to let us do this one in Connecticut. So a big thank you to him. So let us know. Check that out. But at any rate, you guys are gonna see me in a few minutes. Test run for episode 366 Sunday night. So if you're bored, come back in a few minutes.